Hello and welcome to my channel. This video I'm going to be discussing my first semester of nursing school a little bit. I'm just going to go into this very vaguely because every nursing school is different, and I'm just going to say a couple things about every little aspect of nursing school. Sorry, I look horrible right now. It is currently 12:37 a.m. on December 26th. So Merry Christmas, and I hope you guys had a great Christmas. So I'm just going to go over a little bit of the aspects of nursing school, and let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, my entire feelings of nursing school, it was very stressful, very time consuming, I was full of emotions. I'll just say that. Like, it is very stressful. So if you're going into nursing thinking, oh, I could pass this like really easily, you might be able to pass it, but it is still very, very stressful. So it is something that you need to consider when going into it. Like I said, my overall feelings are it's very stressful, very time consuming. I do feel like that I am missing out on a lot of time with family, friends, and my kids, which is something I hate. And let's go ahead and start talking about lecture. So at my nursing school, they have at least 2 lecture teachers, if not more. I think next semester we have 3 lecture teachers for med-surg and 2 for mental health. So like everything is different when it comes to stuff like that. So with that being said, where there's more than one teacher, there's more than one ways of them teaching. So all teachers teach differently. So that was definitely something that you have to get adjusted to. Every teacher has different teaching styles, and every student has different learning styles. So you have to figure out how you learn the best, how you take notes the best, and everything like that. And I had trouble retaining the information like my unit 5 exam or unit 4 exam, whichever one I failed. I made a video about that, you can go watch it. But my usual way of studying did not work because it was getting harder. Like every time you start with like easier material, like if you work as a CNA, you're going to pass your first couple units probably. So like easier material, and then like every unit gets harder and harder and harder. They were 3 hours long, and Mondays and Tuesdays, yes. Exams now, our unit exams, we had 7 unit exams. Those were worth 100 points, and they had 50 questions. Our final exam was 200 points and 100 questions. Grade wise, still talking about lecture, what they graded us on was our unit exams, pharmacology exams, EPAs, which are exam prep activities, which is what you can do. You do them before your exam, and you study using those as well. You had to turn those in as well. And unit remediations, which is where you have to go remediate on what you missed and then turn it in. That's a little bit about the lecture portion. Now we're going to go on to the lab portion. So we had guided lab our first 4 weeks of nursing school, which means that we had lab in the LPN lab. I'm in the RN program, so we had lab in the LPN lab, and we had a teacher in there with us, and she was giving us assignments to tell us what to do. That was the first 4 weeks of nursing school. After that, we had to get 28 lab hours on our own, which means we'd go up to the shared lab and we would have to log. We had to clock in and everything, and we had to get 28 hours. I ended up getting 29 hours and 3 minutes because I spent like 6 hours just practicing sterile field, but that's what that lab's there for. You practice your checkoffs. Our skills are also done by our lab instructor and our lecture teachers. So whenever you get checked off on a skill, it's either, if it's in person, it's either your teacher or a lab instructor, or if you have to get rechecked off, which means you failed one of your skills and you have to get checked off in person, that is a lab instructor and a teacher. So with that being said, our skills that we got checked off on are our first skills videos that we got checked off on was the head to toe physical thorough assessment. And that was a YouTube video. So what that means is you have to record a video, cannot have any cuts. It has to be a straight through video. The critical criteria that they make you print off and make you check, they tell you to check your video before you upload it. So you have to do that, and then you have to upload it to YouTube. I made them unlisted, which means you have to have the link in order to see them. So I uploaded the link, then you have to upload the link in Blackboard and submit it, and then they'll grade it. So skills are either a pass or fail. If you pass it, you don't have to worry about it, but if you fail it, you have to remediate for 2 hours in the lab. That is 2 hours unclocked in, so that's 2 hours on top of your 28 hours, and that's per skill you fail. And after that, you have to schedule an in-person check off. My first was a head to toe thorough physical assessment. Our second skill was in-person check off, and that was a medication administration, which is where you give meds. Our third was IV discontinuation, IM injections, intradermal injections, and subcutaneous injections. Those were in a video as well. And then our last skill was sterile field and sterile wound culture and sterile wound dressing. So those were had to be one video. I'm gonna go ahead and go talk about clinical days. Our clinical days were on Wednesdays, 7:45 to 4. We had to be up at clinical. My clinical was done in a long-term care facility because they wanted everyone to have that experience, because not everyone is going to work in the hospital. There's different settings that we're going to work in, so they're trying to give all their students experience in all the areas. And also, it was just a good place for people who've never been a CNA before to work as a CNA and get those skills. My favorite part was definitely getting to help people, and you got to establish a little bit of bonds with people, because where we did clinical in one setting for the whole, we had a 16-week class, but we didn't start, we were only there for 14 weeks. We started 2 weeks after classes started. So for 14 weeks we were with the same people all the time, and we did build like trustful bonds with some of those people there, and it was just like really nice. The workers, the residents, and everything, like it was just really nice to have that kind of bond. That was one of my favorite things about clinical. The worst part about clinical was probably how early you had to start, just because like whenever you stay up to like 4 a.m. studying, you don't want to get up at 6 a.m. just to go to clinical. But I understand that too, because it's like a shift as a nurse and everything. That was my shift as a CNA, 7 to 7, regardless of if it was not PM or AM. Like that's just how it was. Clinical was a very good learning experience. If you're a hands-on learner, clinical and sim were my favorite because I'm a hands-on learner. We're going to talk about simulation which is our last part. We had 2 different simulations this semester. They were easy simulations. The first one was about safety, was the concept on safety of the patient and the staff. And the second one was still revolved around safety and stuff, but we actually got to administer medications and stuff like that where we were checked off on them. So like, even though Sims, it was mannequin, very, very high-tech mannequin, but it was like, yeah. So simulation, those were on clinical days, and if you had sim, you did not go to clinical. So simulation was from 8 a.m. to noon, because simulation counts as a full clinical day compared to clinical is 8 to 4. So you actually got out 4 hours early if you were on simulation, and simulation was not bad. So what they would do is they would give you a assignment that you had to do the night before you come into sim, and then you would go over it, read over it, and then they would give you a report on the sim, and we would just do our sim work. They would give us labels, and then I was the recorder the first time, which is the person who charts and gives orders. And then I was the charge nurse the second time. The setting was like a hospital. They took us down to the sim lab, which is used strictly for sim, for LP and ADN students. And like I said, it's a sim lab, meaning that it was set up exactly like a hospital. Like had a Pyxis, had hospital setting, very stressful, very fun, very critical thinking. Like it helped you do critical thinking, and it was very hands-on. My favorite part was just getting to see all the roles of the nurse being played out, and getting to see how in depth and how critical thinking nursing is in general. The worst part about it was probably the fact that my first sim, I forgot to do my assignment the night before. Thought I had enough time that morning to do it. Ended up almost being late, and ended up not finishing it until I was in lab doing sim. So overall, nursing, like I said, is very stressful. It's very time consuming. Make sure if you're doing nursing school that your heart is actually in it and you're not just doing it for the heck of it. I passed my first semester of nursing school with an 88%, which I'm very, very proud of myself. I start med surg and mental health next semester. If you are worried about family time, hanging out, like if you don't want to quit your lifestyle thing too, like if you don't want to make time for nursing, then I wouldn't do it either. Like I said, it's very time consuming. So that was like my first semester in nursing school, considering how vague I've tried to be. But I hope you guys like this video, and maybe I will be put together in my next video, but I will see you guys next time. Bye.